Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. My name's Reed if you haven't been here before, and today we're going to dive into a pretty interesting topic, at least I think so, hopefully you do too, and that is just the cost of living in Cochrane, Alberta. If you're thinking about moving here and relocating from another part of the country, this is going to be a video that you don't want to miss. Now before we get started, let's just take a moment and just look at the beauty that this town has to offer, from the Bow River running through it to the historic downtown. Cochrane just has so much to offer that I think it's important to just take a quick peek at this before we dive into those numbers. Okay, diving into those numbers, the first category we're going to start with, and it's obvious I think, is just the cost of the housing in Cochrane, Alberta. Now, housing makes up the majority of any family's monthly expenses, yearly expenses, and just really is the main driver of whether or not a place is affordable to live in. So Cochrane itself has an average family home price of about $530,000. That kind of takes into account, the upper end townhouses, your semi-detached and your detached properties, giving you just kind of a rough average of what you can get into for a single family home in Cochrane. Now, obviously that's going to vary depending on the community, depending on the age and the size. For a detached home, we're looking more in the like 630 range as the benchmark price. Now, you can get into some condos if you're a younger professional, starting around the 220 mark for a one-bedroom condo, and then townhouses range all the way up into the high fives. Really just varies based on finishing levels and size of the condo or the townhouse, and obviously the amenities are included in that. Now, Cochrane's housing market and housing prices actually sit very affordable when it comes to the national average, a whopping 41% lower. So if you're trying to just get started, buy your first family home, and you're wondering whether or not, say, Vancouver or Toronto is a place where you're going to be able to buy that first home and start your family, I think you should start looking in Cochrane. 41% is a ton of money to save right off the bat. Just to give you a better idea, I'm just going to throw up a couple video clips here, just showing you some of the stylings and some of the types of properties that you can expect to find here in the Cochrane area. Now, living in Cochrane isn't just about the fact that you're in a small town. That makes up a huge part of it, and really is the core of Cochrane's feeling, is that you are still part of a small town. However, I think one of the biggest things about Cochrane is that it provides just such easy access to outdoor recreation. There's the Bow River that runs right through this town, and anywhere in the town is 15 minutes away from a great pathway to walk along the scenic Bow River. There's numerous pathway systems that extend and branch out from Cochrane, and there's a couple really nice provincial park and recreation areas super close. And then with that, you're only 50 minutes to Canmore, and you're about an hour from Banff National Park. So getting out and exploring the West and exploring all the nature, Cochrane's location just makes it such a great place to delve out from. Now, jumping back into your costs, we're going to talk about things like your monthly utilities, your property taxes, etc. So Cochrane itself is going to be very similar to any city in Alberta, truthfully. We have a provincial-wide network of natural gas and energy suppliers, so those things are going to be pretty similar. So just to walk you through it, the typical household, we're talking family of four, 1,600 square foot house, you'd expect to see a monthly average for heating and electricity in and around the $200 mark. Now, you also have some water and sewer and then garbage and recycling services that the town operates, and those are going to roughly run you around $90 a month. The next thing on the list is internet. Everyone's got to have internet. This is a connected world, and if you didn't have internet, you wouldn't be watching me right now. So hey, let's keep the internet rolling. Internet's going to run you around $80 to $120 a month. It really depends on the speeds and the level of service that you're looking to get out of your provider. Now, the next really big expense that any family is going to have, and I don't have to tell anybody on here this, is groceries, right? Like, we've seen a huge increase since 2022 and 2020 even on the cost of some of our basic amenities and basic groceries. So right now, I'd expect a family of four to be spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 per week in order to get their groceries. Now, I base my prices off of Walmart. That's what I use. Like, it's obviously gonna be more expensive if you choose, the Save-Ons of the world or buying all your produce at a farmer's market. But just as a base understanding of like how much does it cost for groceries, I think that's a really safe bet. Cochrane has with Walmart and No Frills, and those grocery prices are gonna be about the same either spot. Cochrane has seen an increase too in the number of retailers that it has. Like currently we have a HomeSense, there's a Winners, you know, there's a Home Hardware, Canadian Tire, you've got Sport Chek. So a lot of the things that you may want to purchase outside of your basic needs, you don't have to commute into the city for, which I think is really good because we're going to touch on the cost of commuting next. So just keep in mind that Cochrane is constantly growing, and there's a bunch of really nice local market style stores along the historic downtown that would be great to find some cool little knickknacks for your home without having to commute into the city to go find those stores. All right, so now the next big cost, we're going to talk transportation costs. Okay, so right now, Cochrane, Alberta, the fuel is very similar in price to Calgary. It's about $1.49 a liter for regular gas right now, and I think diesel the other day was sitting at $1.53. So right now, that's high for Alberta. I'll be honest, like those are high prices for us, which is shocking because I was just in Vancouver and it was $2 for a liter for regular gas. So keep in mind that the fuel costs are going to be vastly different from where you are, especially if you're in Vancouver or the Greater Toronto area. But for us right now at $1.53 for regular, that's pretty expensive. So if you're thinking about moving to Cochrane and needing to commute into Calgary for your job, consider those fuel costs and what that might cost to do your 45-minute commute into downtown Calgary. Now, the other side of it there is you may have some parking charges once you get there as well. Now, living in Cochrane isn't just about the essentials. I think it's really important to figure out like, hey, what is there to do for recreational activities here? Cochrane's got a couple golf courses in the Cochrane Golf Club and Glen Eagles. You're a short drive into Kananaskis. A little tip, 30 minutes north of Cochrane is some beautiful golf courses with the Tooth of the Dog Pound and the Water Valley Golf Club. And your prices are going to be very, very reasonable compared to some of the courses in Calgary. Now, the other side of that is that Cochrane being on the west side, you are closer to Banff, closer to Canmore, closer to Kananaskis, and all the recreation that you can find out that way with the fishing, camping, kayaking, canoeing, snowshoeing in the winter. If you're into horses, there's places nearby that board horses and you can go horseback riding. Cochrane has a BMX park. Bet you didn't know that. Cochrane has a skate park, an archery club. There's a ton of different things to do and for recreation and entertainment right in Cochrane, so you don't have to actually commute to the big city to do that as well. So honestly, like whether you're a golfer or a fisherman, a mountain biker, a runner, Cochrane's gonna have something for everybody, especially if you're focused on being outside. I think it's a great aspect of it, and you just can't put a price on the ability to easily and closely access all of your outdoor recreation wants. So just as we wrap up this cost analysis, I mean, we're giving you a pretty high level. I'm giving you a high level here. Everything's going to really determine on what community you're living in. And I tried to give you some averages just to give you an idea of the basic costs to live in Cochrane. There is obviously the high end. You can be up in Montera where there's $1 million properties and estate homes. And then obviously there's some older, smaller homes in the East End that are much more affordable. So keeping in mind, there's a vast array of property types and styles and costs, but the, costs of being in a typical family home is kind of what I wanted to give you here, just to show you how much more affordable I truly think Cochrane is, especially over the major centers like Vancouver, Toronto, and even, Calgary. Like the prices of homes in Cochrane are still less than the average prices of homes in Calgary. So if you're considering to move to Cochrane, I really implore you to do as much research as possible and then reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to help answer any questions that you have. And hopefully I've answered some questions to save you some time so that you don't have to research those ones yourself. If you like the content on this channel and you want to see more, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and even maybe hit that notification bell, and it'll let you know when the next video is coming. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.